Good evening, Club Cult. Pull us out of purgatory. And Serena spam incoming. Oh no, Botrix is doing what I feared. Son of a biscuit. I unsuccessfully connected Kick and Twitch in Botrix earlier. But apparently it did successfully in the background. Which means it's gonna post things that it shouldn't. I need to go in and change what each toggles to real quick. Biscuits. Biscuits and gravy. It's not supposed to do that. Oh my god, don't do that either, computer. Okay, we'll just start you over here. Admin work. That one can post. Which ones can't post? Welcome, Talum. Fun of AI? Oh, because Botrix is a bot. Yeah. I didn't realize I was connecting them earlier when I did, and then I saw my commands repeat when I went to the Twitch side of it with all of my kick commands, and I was like, whoa, that's wrong. So I disconnected it, even though it didn't fully connect. And I just needed to not post Funsley and of. Because that's a no-no. Commands. Let's need to post that one either. It can post CACC, it can post Discord, it can post, it doesn't need to post Doomsday because we're not playing that anymore, and I need to take that out of my profile. It can post dreams, cannot post fun things. It does not need to post this from literally July 2024. Does not need to post holidays because it is June. Lurk is fine. It does not need to post merch because I don't even know what merch I have in stock anymore. I can post DAWs. I cannot post of. I cannot post. Apparently I have 2 of commands. It can post pause. It can post pause for cause. It can post Patreon. It can post schedule. It can post socials. It does not need to post stats because that's not up to. Oh wait. I think that's kick only for the levels. I think. You guys are catching me in admin work that I did not anticipate. Good evening. Good evening, Brian. Good evening, Nikki. I hope everyone's had a good day so far. You can post support. Doesn't need to post surgery. That's an old command. Was that still going through on Kick? It was set to. It shouldn't have been, though. Does not need to post tip. I don't think that can post that over there. Doesn't need to post TTS. Oh, that's already off. Doesn't need to post Twitch, because Twitch is Twitch. Voya, yes. Wheel, no. Wishlist, I don't fucking care. I think that's allowed. You can use Throne on Twitch, right? I think so. I think a lot of VTubers use it. Now let me check this on the timer side. Do the whole thing all over again. Did it keep the setting? No. Not TTS, not Doomsday. Yes, Discord. Not AVN, that's over. Dreams, yes. Voya, yes. Patreon, yes. Of, no. No. Naughty. Push list, fine. Of, no. Why do I have 2 of commands? Schedule is fine. CCC is fine. Twitch doesn't need to overlap yet again. Nas is fine. Don't think I can put tip on there. Pause is fine. Pause for a cause is fine. Support is fine. Fun stuff is not fine. Stats, I'm pretty sure kick only because it'll take you to the kick leaderboard. Like, that's pointless to post over on the side. Okay, now we're back in. Hello. Welcome. Welcome. Did a test run for Sonic Frontiers on PS4. Nice. Sonic Frontiers is peak for gaming. You'd rank it among Doom's remake game. What is the concept of it? Like, what is it? I have shit I need to look up on YouTube anyway, so let's go. Smush cat face. I do apologize that the fans are on and they're probably annoying as shit in the background, but they have to stay on. That's non-negotiable. We have really bad weather coming tomorrow again, too. What's the full game? Oh, it's like Sonic. I've never liked any Sonic games. Like a bite-sized review.
I don't know about you, but to me, Nintendo Switch ports lately have been a hit or a miss. And I might just think that because the last Switch port I played was Alan Wake Remastered, and oh boy, that
has
game
a point
was,
A to point B story behind
yeah,
it. That I
right,
do
right.
like.
So with that in mind, I
like an objective.
Frontiers Switch port
Open play is challenging for me.
Honestly, I was expecting
I get overwhelmed.
Like, I played this game entirely on PlayStation.
Well, the graphics are nice.
That game had some pop-in issues, even though the frame rate in 60 FPS mode was really stable. But I just wasn't expecting the Switch port to come close to that. So after playing the game on Switch for about 2 hours, I can actually say
it's gonna get chilly in here soon. I turned up the air too.
It's not a Witcher 3 situation.
And it's not even
we'd ask,
warm
oh my gosh, how did they get this game running on Switch?
It just need it colder in the house than it is outside and less humid.
Pretty well.
Humidifiers are running. Dehumidifiers are running.
First, let's see how it looks in comparison to PlayStation 5. And obviously, it doesn't look as good. The resolution is lower. The textures are muddier. The frame rate is cut in half. But it's compromises you'd expect to see in a Switch port at this point. So
it looks like fun if that's your style of game.
Surprising. It should also be noted that this port is using
family members recommended it.
Nice. Technology, which has lately been the talk of the town in the PC gaming realm, as it's been improving and becoming quite the competitor to NVIDIA's DLSS. Now, it's not like I can turn that setting off and show you how this game looks without FSR, but it is kind of an interesting thing to note that this is using upscaling technology, and for the most part,
I would not be able to do that.
Fine. It's not mind-blowing, like I said, but if it's making the game run at a consistent frame rate, fine by me. Now, to say the frame rate of
I do like how much detail they put into this. Lower the humidity so you don't get frizzy Serena. I'm already frizzy Serena. I was out in the rain today. But Gunther is not breathing well at all tonight. If he does not improve tonight, I'm gonna have to bring him back to the vet tomorrow, and I'm scared.
But overall, I think the frame rate.
So we have to flood him with good air.
By any means, it is perfectly playable both in handheld and TV mode. I played a bit of it in handheld, and I didn't notice any performance differences.
I don't care if I'm in a potato sack with my head shaved right now. Nothing else matters to me.
On PlayStation 5. And the PS5 version has a ton of pop-in. But either way, I didn't really think that this was detrimental to the Switch version. Yes, it is something you notice. Yes, you might get annoyed by it a bit. However, it's not really anything.
He moves so fast. I know that he's Sonic, but he goes so fast. That's like overwhelming.
Which is why I didn't care much when I saw it again on Switch. Although it's weird how the pop-in happens during cutscenes on Switch. That's kind of strange, but again, it's nothing that I'm really too concerned about. So overall, I think the Switch port of Sonic Frontiers is good.
This window's smaller than it should be.
It's not amazing. It's not terrible either. It is perfectly acceptable.
It's a little better.
If the Switch is the only platform you're able to play the game on, go right ahead and pick it up on Switch. I don't think you're going to regret it. But if you also own a good PC, a PlayStation 5 or a Series X, I would definitely recommend picking up the game on those platforms because that 60 FPS mode makes a world of difference. PS4 and Xbox One, I don't think have 60 FPS, which is a bummer. But if you had to choose between one of those consoles and the Switch port, you might still want to pick it up on those for that higher resolution.
Zoom,
But if
zoom,
you're also a
zoom.
person who likes playing
Zoom,
their
zoom,
games almost
zoom.
exclusively in portable mode, Sonic Frontiers is great for on the go. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you plan on picking this game up on the Nintendo Switch? Did you already buy it on the Switch? Let me know how you feel about
No
it in
and
the
no,
comments
but
below.
it looks
And
cute.
check out
Looks cute. I want to check the weather, and then I want to try and do a little bit of Gunther research. So Gunther does not have asthma, and he does not have a heart condition. He has a fungal infection in his lungs, depending on what it is, because we have to send it out to culture it and find out what it is so we can medicate it properly. It could be something that he's had since he was at the shelter, like since I adopted him, or something that he's developed somewhere within, I would say, the last 6 months. His breathing has gotten really weird. Right now, he's in considerable respiratory distress. And unfortunately, if I took him to the emergency room, he would freak out so hard in the car. Gunther is a cat. He's my tuxedo cat that's usually in the chair behind me, but there's pillows that I bought at the Dollar Tree today on the chair behind me now. What was I saying? Oh, he's in a considerable amount of respiratory distress right now. Like, his gums are still pink and he's not open mouth breathing, but his normal, which is crazy high, is usually 50 to 60 breaths per minute. And right now he's at like 80 to 90 breaths per minute. So I texted my vet and he said, bring him back in the morning. I looked up how to do CPR if I need to. He's just not doing well right now. And I'm afraid that it's going to be like the same thing as Chauncey, where we took a sample and to see how it should best be treated and define what it is. And now everything is going really bad. He's laying in the litter box right now, just trying to do his best to breathe. I put one of my t-shirts in there with him so he doesn't get like litter around his mouth because he was doing that. Lay on the t-shirt. He's a baby boy. Right now he's still stable. But if he gets any worse, then he's not stable. And I don't know if he'll make it through the night if it gets any worse, which is very scary. But I can bring him into my vet at 7:30 in the morning. That's less than 12 hours away. And they'll probably do some oxygen therapy and determine what his quality of life is at this point, which is horrifying. I did not expect that when I brought him in for x-rays this morning to figure out, oh, asthma or heart, that he would have this much of more disturbance going on. So I'm pretty fucking scared. Pretty fucking scared. Because I love him. He's my little buddy. He's like the last piece of voya that I have. And he's doing really fucking shitty right now. But I moved his food bowl closer to him. He has a water bowl closer to him. He's still breathing the same respiration rate, I'm pretty sure. Double check. I'll probably check like every 30 minutes or so. Set a timer for 15 seconds. Okay, he's doing a little better right now. His respiration is back down to 68 instead of 80, where it's consistently been up until about 30 minutes ago. So that's a little bit good. We want improvement. I'm still going to bring him in tomorrow, even if he goes back to normal. Well, actually, because he freaks out so bad in the car, if he does go back to his normal respiration before morning, I'm not going to bring him in the morning. And we're just going to wait for the culture to come back. But for right now, he's doing slightly better, which is good. But I am very prepared to have to deal with big stuff tonight, and That's why we're in the fan zone, not the friend zone, the fan zone. Because we need all of the air flowing through the stream room. It's so hard to lose our little buddies. It's not fair that they don't live as long as we do. I'm trying not to catastrophize and think the worst, but like it's not good. And there's also like PTSD infiltrating my mind because I just went through Voya and his respiratory distress decline and I'm seeing it all over again. All over again. I like this guy. I was watching him during the last round of storms last week.
We haven't seen a SIG 3 tornado threat yet. We haven't.
He stands for all of his streams, which is crazy. He was saying something when I was watching last week of like, at 5 hours in, this is the longest time I've stood on stream.
And I feel like if looking online right now at Logan's board, it does say there's a chance of thunderstorms, but at the same time,
where is he actually looking at?
That will not tell you. Like if you have a threat.
Oh, he's in Michigan right now.
It might literally say you have a 0%.
It's supposed to be really bad weather tomorrow. Last Wednesday all over again. Welcome, Jero. Positive is you give all the animals you take in a way better life than they would have had. Thank you. I appreciate that. My vet's told me the same thing many times. Like, me being insane is a good thing because it means they get the utmost level of care. If Gunther could tolerate, in my opinion, going to the emergency room tonight, we would do that. But I'm not about to have him crash on the way. And I'm 95% sure that that would happen if I tried to put him in the car right now. So we're not going to do that. And my vet is like 12 minutes away. The emergency vet is like 30 minutes away. We're not going to do that. Well, there's many more ways to cope with pain than gaming, but gaming is a nice... gaming is nice because when you need it to be, I mean, it's certainly enjoyable and fun, but when you need it to be in emotional situations, it's an excellent mix of like mental stimulation, but also disassociation. So you're not just sitting there like staring at a wall, like feeling nothing, even though you kind of are staring at a screen feeling nothing, but it's impossible to not feel what's going on in the game and get involved in it. So it is very nice and therapeutic that way. They were just streaming your fuck-ass weather. I think, kind of. I looked at the map big, and it was, Michigan, I think. I saw Detroit somewhere.
Please receive weather alerts. You should have a tornado action plan, which means you know where you're going if you're under a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning.
They paused it at the Chicago part.
Now. You should not be waiting tomorrow 1 hour before storm hits, or even 10 minutes before storm hits, or even during a warning. You should know ahead of time.
Luckily, you don't live on the west side of the state anymore. Nice.
You need to make sure you know where you're going.
Does that mean you're safer from storms?
A storm shelter, basement, closet, or bathroom, concrete is usually the best. So, again, try to figure out it now instead of later. In case you've not been through a severe weather event yet this year, maybe you're at a hotel over in Indianapolis at a conference. For
clear as water. Clear as day. Although these days are not going to be clear. Hopefully the weather isn't as bad as last week. Yeah, hopefully as fuck. And I wonder if that's impacting him too. Like, I don't know, when you have a bunch of, if anyone's asthmatic, when you've had a bunch of days of bad asthma throughout the week, you kind of feel distress from it. Like, even when you're not actively having an asthma flare-up, like, you feel, I don't know, it's like going to the gym and, like, leg day, and then you feel it. It's kind of like that. And Gunther had to go downstairs twice last week, which really stressed him out. I wonder if that's impacting where he is now. Because, I mean, he has a fungal infection in his lungs. There's got to be spores flying around and shit.
Oh. There will be weather tomorrow. There will be storms. There will be severe weather, and there will be tornadoes. How many? How intense?
It's been super humid here too, and it sucks. Makes my hair floofy.
But very important to make sure you're staying on alert tomorrow.
And hard to breathe for both Gunther and I.
What is Thursday's tornado potential? Thursday, I think, will be more of a tornado threat down near the Gulf Coast and the Dixie Alley rather than up here.
Oh, I searched him. Hee. What are we expecting? Filters today. 2 hours ago and 4 hours ago.
We're expecting multiple tornadoes to touch down in our area tomorrow. They could be stronger than
Fun.
3 tornadoes. We saw 2 of them in our area last week, and now the flooding risk has gone even
I'll perk up
higher.
when we
So
jump into
we have some
games.
new
I'm just gonna be
information for you
flat
today. Here it
Stanley
is.
until then.
Weather alert for you tomorrow. Round 1 coming mainly between 8 a.m. and noon. Widespread rain, and there is a risk of severe storms. But the main event comes after a short break for some of us, 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Severe storms widespread, multiple violent tornadoes possible.
I mean, I guess if I do have to put everyone downstairs, and if Gunther's home and like somewhat more stable tomorrow, what I did on Thursday last week when it was like we weren't sure if it was gonna get bad versus Wednesday where it was like get everyone downstairs now. I left Diesel to go down at the last minute and to go down at the last minute, and I'll leave Gunther to go down at the last minute too. Because everyone else will dislike it, but tolerate it.
At 8-9 p.m., storms will be moving east of the area, but the flood risk, something concerning...
But the bonus is I have a dog crate, like a small crate I used to use for Pippi. She doesn't like metal crates, though. She doesn't use it anymore. That's what Gunther goes in downstairs. So, like, be able to breathe. He won't, like, just be in a carrier.
2 to 4 inches or
He'll be able to
more
breathe more
expected.
freely.
Add that onto the rain we've seen recently, and it could be trouble for basements, rural fields, and many roadways. Severe storm threat tomorrow.
As long as the power doesn't go out and my sump pumps work, we're okay.
South of I-80,
Okay.
4 out of 5 risk driven by
I think it's a decent plan. I'm actually surprised at how efficiently I've been able to get everyone downstairs, except for Ringo, who won't go downstairs. Jero, how do I get my dog to go downstairs? My giant dog. He won't let me pull him. He won't follow treats. He doesn't care how much I sweet talk him or call him. I can't just push his ass downstairs because he's almost twice as big as me. How do I get him to go downstairs?
I suspect it'll be canceled before then. The line of developing storms
How?
east of Chicago. Chicago is...
If anyone has any doggy knowledge input, how do I convince him to go downstairs? Like, I get it. Horses don't do stairs, but...
Much more information on tomorrow and how to prepare now. Coming up next. Marie?
It's annoying. Because then he's in the danger zone. He won't follow a bone down there. He won't follow a favorite toy down there. He stops at the top of the stairs and he looks at me like I'm stupid, no matter what I've tried. He's just like, this is not happening. He won't follow a favorite toy. He won't follow treats. He won't follow the food bowl. He won't let me pull him. He won't, even if I put his e-collar as high as I'm comfortable going with it, he doesn't take that correction as you need to listen to mom and go downstairs. I've tried everything, I feel like. I cannot get him to go downstairs. So we sit in the stairwell with blankets over us while everyone else is downstairs.
Your weather hours.
Well, I wanted to first start off with a setup. What is going to be happening in our atmosphere 24 hours from now? An unusually very strong area of low pressure approaching us from the west. That's going to force a warm front into our southern view.
I mean, realistically, even if we did get like scooped up by a tornado, the odds of both my dad and me getting hit by a tornado are pretty slim. So like the rest of the zoo would be safe downstairs. Just me and Ringo would get the worst of it. So like the zoo would be fine. They would be taken care of. My dad wouldn't let them suffer. But like Ringo's really going to make me die on that hill. The hill of the stairwell. Which that's where my dad said the safest place is. So I don't know. I don't really think so because the back door is right there. But
type tornadoes possible, especially in our southern viewing area. So I want to get you updated.
If I die, I can just haunt him and blame him.
It's
all your fault. You told me to go in the stairwell.
Severe weather threat is pretty low tomorrow morning and mainly confined to areas south of I-80 in terms of damaging winds and maybe.
I love you, Papa.
The main event, though, arrives 2 o'clock to 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. This is when we'll have widespread.
I don't have to work tomorrow though, so thank God.
Rainfall and embedded in all this.
We can stream for a pretty hot minute tonight, which I like. But that's Gunther pending as well. But I am relieved that his respiration has improved. Safe as can be while taking care of the big boy. I'd like to think so.
By the time we head towards mid to late tomorrow evening,
I would like to think so.
Closer to 9 o'clock tomorrow evening, the storm motion will move off towards the east. There'll still be some residual flooding issues in terms of river flooding, especially.
If it did get really, really bad, I probably wouldn't keep sitting in the stairwell, and I would just blanket myself on top of him with the blanket over us,
For areas to the south of I-80,
instead of just how we were snuggle huddling.
overall the highest threat of big-time tornadoes. Wind damage, though, area-wide from the Wisconsin line down to the Kankakee River Valley. Hail threat is a secondary threat, and flooding is also a high threat for tomorrow, even higher than what we saw last week. 2, 3, 4+ inches of rainfall will be possible, and a rare moderate.
Who's gonna be watching Max Velocity with me tomorrow?
Area for tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening, so it's gonna be quite busy for tomorrow. Thunderstorms exiting out of the viewing area right now.
I don't have an antenna set up for my TV, so that's how I get my weather is on YouTube.
Temperatures going from 60s this evening into the 50s tomorrow morning, and we are mainly dry now through 8 a.m. Beyond 8 a.m., the first wave of rain and storms moves in, low and threat of severe weather. But
You need to go in. You go in at 7:30.
24 hours from now, it's these rotating super
We get some adrenaline if it really went bad and carry him down. Perhaps I can lift half of him.
Similar setup to what we had last Thursday. The area will
I know that.
though even stronger than what we had last Thursday. So 70 for tomorrow and 100%.
I feel like honestly, if the adrenaline hit, what would happen would be I would just like forcibly shove him down the stairs and he would probably fall and injure himself. I'd rather have a bad leg than a gone dog.
As we head towards a week from today. Eric and Joe, we're going to keep an eye on the radar.
I've been pretty powerful in storms before. I did like the super mom technique when one of my cats years ago was under the couch and it got really, really bad outside. I lifted the whole couch with one arm and scooped her out from underneath with the other, and I'm pretty proud of that one. He's about 120 pounds. Last time he was at the vet, he was 117, but we haven't been the most consistent walkers for about the last 2 or 3 weeks. So he's probably at least 120 now. I can lift half of him. Because we had a Great Pyrenees come into work that was going to be about as big as him, and I wanted to make sure I could help the other groomer lift him into the tub. So I lifted up half of Ringo to test it, and I can lift half of him. But honestly, he's so big that, like, I can't compensate to get as far as his front and back to try and, like, scoop him, even if I did have super mom strength. I don't know. I mean, I guess, like, I could wrap his leash around his rear end and kind of do the forklift pull method and really, really force him, but that would be mean. But if the only option I have is to either be mean or get scooped up by a tornado, I guess I have to be kind of mean, which I don't like, but
usually very strong area of low pressure approaching us.
Not mean, but forceful.
Some warm front into our southern viewing area, and that's
not the most gentle of handling.
Winds, flooding rains, hail-producing thunderstorms.
I don't like having to manhandle the dogs.
Tornadoes for tomorrow. We could have a repeat of what we had on Thursday, with even a few EF3, if not higher, type tornadoes possible, especially in our southern viewing area.
I think we had 11 or 13 tornadoes in Illinois last Wednesday and Thursday.
Widespread rain. Some of it could be on the heavy side. Severe weather threat is
He's a big boy. I think I have a picture of him under his thunder blanket.
The main event, though,
I might have deleted it. Trying to clear space in my phone. Tell me how deleting 3,000 pictures off of my phone did nothing for my storage. How?
Showers and thunderstorms, heavy rainfall.
Come on.
All this.
How?
Potentially 60, 70, if not 80 miles per hour. There's a high and destructive wind threat.
I got tipped in Skittles the other day. I got some Skittles Littles. He was a cute old man who had like a Yorkie mix. I got tipped in Skittles.
Increased threat for tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. By the time we head towards midnight,
where is Go-Go? When was that?
Closer to 9 o'clock tomorrow evening, the storm motion will move off towards the east.
Maybe I didn't save it. Oh, there he is. Thunder Buddy. That says nothing for his size, though. Let me find a better picture. I don't take enough pictures of Ringo. I'm terrible. But he's either zooming or sleeping.
Along the south of I-80 that has overall the highest threat of big-time tornadoes. Wind damage, though, area-wide from the Wisconsin line down to the Kankakee River Valley. Hail threat is a secondary threat. And flooding is also a high threat for tomorrow.
Bingo.
Higher than what we saw last week. 2, 3,
He's
4
a
plus
big
inches
doge.
of
That's from
rainfall
winter.
will be possible, and a rare moderate risk for flash flooding is posted for much of
You
our
big
area
boy.
for tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. So it's going to be quite busy for tomorrow. Thunderstorms exiting out of the viewing area right now. Had a few rumbles working across parts of northwest Indiana. We'll have a quiet
It's not even a
afternoon.
horse
Temperatures
anymore. He's
going
like a
from
bear.
60s this evening into the 50s tomorrow morning, and we are mainly dry now through 8 a.m.
He's such a
Beyond
goof.
8 a.m., the first wave of rain and storms moves in. Low threat of severe weather, but right along this warm front tomorrow afternoon,
Him next to
24 hours from
Pippi.
now, it's these rotating supercell thunderstorms that again could produce multiple tornadoes.
He's honestly such a big love
Similar setup to what we
that he's
had
not a very good guard dog,
last
but he
Thursday.
finally grew out of his bitch bark. He used to bark like a little golden retriever. Now he has a deep woof, woof, which is nice. Just by like a visual, I think he's a good deterrent. He's very smart though. Last summer I was walking him and there was a coyote like a little bit more than halfway up the block, and he'd stopped out of nowhere, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, let's go. We're walking, friend. We're walking, friend. And he then at that point stood in front of me. So I'd like to think if anything ever did go south, he would be a good guard dog, but men are his favorite people, honestly. He is unhinged when he sees a man. He sees me and it's like, okay, that's my mom, that's fine. But he loves men. I don't know what he is. I think my vet thinks he's a lab Great Dane mix. But I see like Newfie or Great Pyrenees in his face. And he has the leg spots for it too. I guess this one kind of looks like him. He just doesn't have the deepest jowls to be Great Daney. But he's not super fluffy either. I guess that kind of looks like him. He's less fluffy than this dog, but very similar. He doesn't have the floof. He has like a lab coat. That actually looks a lot like him. Pretty sure he was just like a Craigslist farm dog. I don't know. My buddy found him at his job site. I was like, Pinky, I found a dog. And it turned out to be a horse. Oh, there's a little baby Border Collie Lab mix. 13 weeks old. 18 pounds at my vet's office today. And it looked like a baby Ringo. That looks a lot like him. Oh, that's like good for scale too. That's probably how Ringo would wear the bottle. I haven't been a good mom and saved up to do his embark test to see exactly what his genes are. But I would like to know sooner than later so I can be aware of any health issues that he may have going on in the future. Big dogs, big bones, big health issues at times. Potentially. That looks a lot like him. Maybe he is a lab Newfie mix. When he was younger, he looked a little more jowly, but he really doesn't have big jowlies unless he's drinking water now. Then it feels like he has big jowlies. He was so rude earlier. He nudged up against my leg after drinking and got it all wet. So I like turned around after I put his leash on and wiped my leg back on him. And then he turned around and wiped his face in the same place on my leg again. It's like, no, Mom. This is for you.
Sunday afternoon will be likely for Father's Day. Temperatures will rebound back in the upper 70s as we head towards a week from today. Eric and Joe, we're going to keep an eye on the radar and have updates online and on air as needed.
Trying to keep from jumping on the couches and beds is a pain. He's actually very polite. For still being a puppy and for being a big dog, he's very polite. The only time he has bad manners is when he sees men, and men are allowed to acknowledge him. And then he's rambunctious. But otherwise, he really just moves through the house with like a quiet happiness. I don't know. He's a very, very well-mannered dog and very, very calm for what his size could be. Ringo just likes to share. He does, apparently. I really needed that slobber or something. I don't know. That's what he decided. He's just surprisingly a very, very good dog, unless there is a man, and then he is an idiot puppy all over again.
And when we
I'm gonna
talk
watch
about
this one and
Wednesday,
then
there
do a
is
little bit
growing
of
threat.
gun
This
theory
is the day
research.
that we could see almost of
I was
severe
fast
risk
scrolling
where
through
we could have
Google
the
about
outbreak
fungal
of
infections
hail,
earlier, but
damaging winds, and
I
even
didn't really
strong
retain
winds
any
and tornadoes. The
information.
SPC
Doesn't matter what I
is
know
this
because we
to a
don't know what
moderate
he
risk.
has yet.
We
But
are in this zone, in this period where we typically see climatologically.
there's four main ones. There's two of them that are relatively treatable, and two of them that it's like, good luck.
That could lead to intense
So.
tornadoes that are on the ground for a long time.
Yep. That's exactly how he is. It's raining men. Hallelujah. I'm jumping on men. Hallelujah. Oh, he's been better about not jumpies, but he does get bossy. All I want the attention from the man now. He'll rub up into you and like floomp into you. Like he just doesn't know his size. Unless he's just solo with me.
Wind dynamics as well. So
Maybe he's grumbly when he's just with me, like, oh, I gotta be the man of the house. Plop my feet around and survey the area. Okay, the cats are good. The other dogs are good. Okay, my food bowl's there. My water is there. All dog is puppy. That is very true. Pippi regressed to puppy after her haircut. I'm gonna take her in tomorrow afternoon. She's...
Interesting to know.
So dogs reverse sneeze. Like they... I can't do it without like shoving snot out of my nose, but like that kind of thing. She's done it hardcore since I took her to the shop with me on Sunday. Which, that's only 2 days of it, and I would think that if I got some water up her nose, which I don't think I did, it would have cleared up by now, but she's still doing it. So I'm wondering if she has a little bit of a cold or what's going on there. She's going to go see Doc for a little checkup tomorrow.
Has that moderate risk, a little closer to, say, northeast Missouri and west central Illinois. But it's worth
she's doing it like excessively, and it almost sounds like she's
indicating that yeah, we might in that warm sector before that cold front.
I don't even know. Can I find an example? Have I taken a video of it? I don't think so, because in the moment of her doing it, I just stare at her and I'm like, are you okay? And my phone is usually on the charger or far away. I don't think I have pictures of her for it. Aw, dude for his appointment yesterday and his emotional support potty pad between his legs that he was kicking. Oh, gee. Collapsed trachea, what? So like that, but instead of just briefly, she's like she does a big one. Like it's all of her lung power. It's weird.
Have some tornadoes.
I don't know what's going on there.
Most concerning. Let's say,
how's the new avocado doing? He's doing well. I got some more eye meds for him yesterday, so hopefully we can get that under control and he won't be a candidate for surgery. And then this Thursday afternoon, hopefully I won't get called into work because he has an appointment in the afternoon for a full medical recheck. Look at his wounds on his neck, see if we can take the cone off by their best interpretation, and get his snotties looked at because he's mostly over his cold, but it doesn't seem like fully. And then he gets his rabies shot too.
By about 9 or 10 o'clock.
And he's allowed to bite me as much as he wants.
There's a break.
Which he doesn't bite. He even fights to go in the carrier, and he does not bite. He's a good cat.
Then you see these storms explode.
He's a very good boy.
Especially if we get some storms out ahead of the main line. That could be a big time problem.
Diesel, however, with the jumping on the couches and beds is he's like fucking Spider-Man. I'm gonna go on this one. 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 You would think that there's springs in all of the furniture.
And the most intense part, least stable part of
but no, Diesel is the springs.
We will ultimately watch
I love him. He's my crazy dog.
And then they'll become a threat in the Northeast.
Okay. I couldn't find, you get a different algorithm between mobile and not, but I couldn't find anything on my phone about cat fungal lung infections. Only like ringworm stuff or like just upper respiratory stuff. What's this? Okay. I found one. Tank has a corner on the market with his nibbles. He does. Oh, get some sleep, Talum. Thank you for taking the time to be here. We appreciate you and thank you for the kind words. Get some good Z's. Get the best good Z's. Get some good munchies. You hope tonight and tomorrow goes as well as it can for you too. Because work probably makes you feel like you want to breathe like Gunther. Oh, is this a dog? I mean, the same difference. So thankfully, none of these are like infectious, so I don't have to worry about Zeke or the rest of the zoo. But they can't. Oh, that is a cat. It's more likely for cats to get these infections than dogs, but dogs can too. I would think that's probably because most of them come from soil or like things outside. And dogs sniff around so much, they've probably developed some kind of immunity to them, whereas cats generally aren't outside or shouldn't be outside.
I was sort of expecting a mask because it's older cat with a white nose. But we just wanted to look at the camera and we feel it's like flash.
They did do a nasal swab on him similar to that, so I wonder if that's really disturbing him too. Because when Munster was in the university hospital down south, they cleaned out all of his mucous membranes and cauterized a portion of the back of his nasal passage so that it would be healthier eventually. And he really struggled to breathe and was like bleeding out of his nose the first 24 hours he came home. That was scary. I don't need to see the procedure. I just want to see the prognosis.
Long term, it can be very hard to do that. We're going to try to get a sample and figure out exactly what type of.
That's what they did today, is took a sample of it.
What we need to do is after we debrided sort of the larger fungal plaques, we want to basically bathe the nasal cavity in a topical antifungal. It can be really difficult to treat and completely clear. So our best bet is to treat it both topically, and then when the cat goes home, we'll also send the cat home with oral antifungal medications as well. So what we want to do is be able to concentrate all.
So right now, Gunther, not Munster, has a nasal decongestant medicine and antibiotics, which I've only given him one of the nasal decongestants today because in his state, I don't feel comfortable giving him more medication.
Medication in the nasal cavity, so we basically have to plug all the holes. So we're gonna block off both nostrils and then the back of the mouth. And essentially we have these little access ports that we're gonna hook our antifungal medication up to. And we are going to infuse it and put it
Oh,
there
that's what
for
Doc
about
was talking
15
about
minutes,
for the
and then
expensive
basically
treatment.
rotate the cat so that we coat all surfaces of the nose.
Should know by the end of the week what the infection is. It says 1 to 4 days on the testing. Fungal infections are super hard to get rid of in humans. There's 4 main ones with cats. 2 are relatively straightforward, but fair, not good prognosis. And 2 of them are very difficult to treat and poor prognosis. And those 2 would be the ones that he would have potentially had since he was in the shelter. Pneumonia. That's people. That's upper respiratory infections. Oh, no, that's heartworm. That's ringworm. It's respiratory infection. That's skin fungus infections. Respiratory infections. People. Fungal yeast. Upper respiratory infections. What's this? It's a person. But it's Animal Planet.
3 days on antibiotics. Sarah Kramer's the
Why is there people stuff on Animal Planet?
So we're here with Monster.
Oh, poor buddy. I was gonna say that's crypto. You can see when their nose is bulbous like that.
The fungus that's growing inside his sinus cavity up into his brain or skull.
It's definitely not that, because we would see that in his snoot.
Because
His face is so flat, even if it was barely prevalent, we would see it.
so we're gonna start him on.
Some of you play video games with found a kitten stuck in a soccer net. Oh, there's now a new cat owner. The cat distribution system at work. That's beautiful. Is it a little boy or a little girl? Cats are so dumb. Like, they're so resilient and so smart, but like, it gets stuck in a net. That's so wonderful, though. Yay! Congratulations on new baby to friend.
Cat fungi are a type of fungus that primarily infect the skin of cats. They can also impact the
Yay for
respiratory
new
system
baby.
and, in advanced stages, affect the brain.
That cat
and
is gonna have the
nerves.
best life. They're so lucky.
These fungi can spread from one cat to another through direct contact or exposure to contaminated environments. Importantly, cats can also transmit these infections to other animals, making it a concern beyond just felines. Treating cat fungi, especially in
It would be
its
more
early
like
stages,
ringworm
can be
versus
challenging,
what he
but
has
not
going on
impossible.
inside.
Early intervention is key.
As a result,
Here's
you've
what
been
you need to
walking through
do.
the park checking the goals to see if there's
Visit
another
the
one.
veterinarian.
Cat
At the
envy.
first sign of
No,
infection,
that's not a
take
bad
your
thing
cat
to
the
do,
vet.
though. Especially if it was a baby. Like, there's probably more in the litter. I still think about where I scooped PB up from and kind of regret, like, not being more... I was so tunnel visioned on her that I should have thought more about, well, it should look for the other babies, should look for mom, blah, blah, blah. And I regret that, but it's a little too late now. It's a little boy cat. Oh.
Isolation. Keep the infected cat away from
Call
other
him
pets to prevent
Goalie.
the spread. Medication.
Or Love,
Administer
if it was a
antifungal
tennis net.
medications as prescribed by your vet. These are often added
Love
to
is a
cat's
score in
food.
tennis, right? I'm remembering that correctly,
Topical
I think.
treatments. Clean the infection with sunlight, which can help contact until the untreated injuries, scratches until the infection is fully treated. Cats can contract fungi from several sources: contaminated environments, contact with soil or surfaces contaminaminated with fungal spores.
And that would be me going barefoot
Untreated
everywhere,
injuries,
even though I
scratches,
clean
or
every couple
wounds
of
that are not
days.
promptly treated can become
Because that's
injury-related.
possible too. Either he's had this since I adopted him, because he went through chronic upper respiratory infections for like the first year and a half that I had him. He's never been a good breather. Or I brought dirt in the house and he snuffed it.
For fungi.
Love is a
Weaken
score in
immune system.
tennis?
Cats
Yeah.
with weakened
I'm not sure
immunity
how
are
either.
more susceptible to infections. Watch out for these signs: swelling and lethargy, sudden wounds on the clean environment. Avoid contact with
I
street
scrubbed
cats.
in here
Limit
today.
your cat by staying vigilant. Environment clean.
Okay. Skin fungus, respiratory infections, not ringworm. That's people. So I think that's one of the fungal infections. Upper respiratory infection, crypto. Gunther doesn't have crypto. Alien cat challenge, fighting fungus with cats. That's a really long one.
evening, everyone.
Let me look at this big for a second. My cat's hair. Oh, this is only about ringworm. I should have read the description first. Lysine is recommended for immunocompromised cats. Skin infection, skin, dogs, ringworm. Like, all of this information visually is almost all ringworm. Although I did find a couple that I didn't find on mobile, which was cool. Oh, oops. I yeeted my window. I thought I had another tab open. I was wrong. I was wrong. Okay, let me reopen this for a hot minute. I gotta pee. Love in tennis means 0. Oh, dang. And it's it's love all. Oh, I kind of like that. Like, you got nothing, all you got is love. That's beautiful. Welcome, Cribbity. Hope you're having a good night so far. Did look like a Muppet, or like a troll. One of the Trolls dolls. I'll be right back. I got pee. I've been chugging my coffee. And I drank like a whole liter of water before stream, because I don't know, why not? Why not? Gunther's respiratory rate and the big zoo on the cameras in a minute. If anyone has like a room decorated in like PlayStation stuff and is ever looking for more PlayStation decorations, I found these at the Dollar Tree today. Isn't that a cute little pillow? It's so stupid and pointless, but it's adorable. There's this one too. I'm gonna put them over on the bed at some point. They're so cute. This one's actually nice and squishy. It's a good, like, in between the legs sleeping pillow. Oh, you know what? I didn't think about that. No, it does not complete the job. This is so neat. It's not licensed, I don't think. Oh, no, it is! It's a collaboration licensing, but it says PlayStation and it has the logo, official licensed product. I thought it was just knockoffy. I didn't even look at it. It was cool though. I was happy to find them. I treated myself today. And I also needed instant coffee. I did almost all of my errands today. The one I couldn't remember last night was I needed to pick up my prescriptions. And I didn't do that today either, but that's okay. By the time I was just at the last stop before that, I had to call for Gunther, so then I zoomed over to the vet. It is licensed merch. I'm shocked, actually. That's not going to show up in any kind of clear way. Damn, my nails look like shit. This is my, oh no, this one. This is my nail that I end up dremeling when I do dog nails. So it's going to be crooked for the rest of my life now. Unless I keep my nails like stupid short, like how guys do. No offense. I will forever be dremeling my nail. But if I don't have some nail length, then I dremel my finger. And I don't want to do that. All right, a little bit of reading, and then I want to play some games. Check on the B-Bas, and then measure Gunther's breathing. Everyone got extra lovin's today, but they're probably going to be kind of pissed at me tonight. Just because, no offense, but they're fine. Gunther needs me. Just want to check on Peebs. She got her steroid today, and then we're going to continue every day again tomorrow. Dremeling the fingers, just spa day for us men. Them calloused hands, though. You guys probably need a little bit of dremeling. It's like beneficial at that point. Gigi is on the move. She might be about to play. She might be about to poop. I don't know which. She's funny. She's getting a lot braver, and I feel I'm already regretting that I won't be able to spend a lot of time with her tonight. She's been coming out and being very social. Or as social as a feral cat gets. Tank is just eeping. It's literally what he does all day. He just eeps. Alright, everyone else is all good. She comes over to me now, and she sniffs my finger, and then she climbs up on her carrier like that. And just hangs out with me. Which is really cool. We're getting places. When I have a few free brain cells again, I want to start playing with her again. And I have it set up to where I can sit in like by the litter box so we can start working with the next level of socialization saves lives, to where she doesn't have to let me pet her. She doesn't have to interact with me. She just has to be comfortable enough to walk over my legs. And then she can have free roam of the bathroom. She doesn't have to be in her tent anymore. All right, Gunther, let's watch you breathe. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17. So we should still be at 68 beats per minute, because now it's 17 times 4. So you take a cat's heart rate. You, like for us, we do, I think, like 10 seconds, and then to make it 60 seconds, so times 6. But for cats, you do the amount of breaths in 15 seconds, and then multiply that by 4. So he's at 68 breaths per minute now, which is much improved. That's taking my anxiety down from like a DEFCON 1 to like a DEFCON 3. And if he lays in bed with me tonight, then we'll be at like DEFCON 1. And at that point, I won't bring him in first thing in the morning. I'll just call as soon as they open, because I would drop him off at 7:30, but they open at 8. So then I would just call at 8 and let them know what's going on, because I'm comfortable monitoring him if he's at his previous normal, even if that's not normal. What actually is a typical cat breath per minute? I know he's above it. Cart. It should be 20 to 30. So his normal is already double that. This one seems likely for him because it's nasal cavity, sinus, and lung. That's one that's like very difficult to treat. Candidiasis, mucous membranes, and skin, which he has had some skin issues recently, so that's possible. But he has any tummy upsets or like lesions of the eye, and like the other symptoms for it don't really match up. So probably less likely. Does not have, oh, wait, no, he doesn't have crypto. Cocci. That's limited to like dry desert regions, so probably not the likely one. And that's like skin lesions, lumps, abscesses, fever, weight loss. Gunther hasn't really lost weight. Histo is one of the really bad ones. That one's non-contagious. It comes from soil. And it's common in the Midwest. So we're really hoping it's not that one because it's very, very, very difficult to treat and poor prognosis. But it shows signs of fever, only involves lungs, labored breathing, and coughing, which, again, he doesn't cough, which is why I didn't think it was asthma, which is why we did the x-rays today. And now we have kind of an answer. Let's see. That one I don't think it would be because he doesn't really match the symptoms. Blasto is one that it could be. Generally limited to different areas, but his symptoms kind of line up. Exercise intolerance and difficulty breathing. He's had bursts of playfulness, but he's gotten less playful, but I attributed it to age. That I'm not even going to try to say. That would be tissue at the site of an injury, though. And that's not really around here. Sporo. Sporo is sporadic. Soil, vegetation, timber, usually in coastal regions or river valleys. Seems unlikely. There was one more case. This is the one other one I was reading. I like skimmed through these. I just wanted to skim through them again. Knowledge soothes me. Like, even if you, I don't know, if you look up your symptoms on Google and it's like, you're gonna die, even that soothes me. Because it's like, okay, at least I'm not just ruminating on the thought of, this is happening. It's just like, oh, these are my options. I don't think that has anything to do with fungus, though. Calcivirus, if it is one that could be spread to everyone else, which means Zeke might have it then, and it would be asymptomatic at this point. Or perhaps if it's this, Zeke brought it in because it's common in shelters. I believe cats can be either carriers or be infected by it. Cause the lifelong infection of up to 80% of exposed cats. Up to these 45% will periodically shed the virus, usually when stressed. There, fungal infection. Like, these aren't what I'm looking for. Not what I'm looking for. I try. I do my best. I'm not perfect, and I never will be, but it's not crypto. I do my best. Sometimes your best is just adjusting expectations, because I would love to take him to the emergency vet tonight and give them every single dollar that I have left at this point, but I do not want him to crash on the way there, and I would say there's a 95% chance for that. This one, hopefully, we're early. Neoformans. C. Neoformans. Aspergillus, histo, blasto, and C. Neoformans, I think, are the four most common ones. This one is like big serious, but he like matches the symptoms the most. That and histo, which are like the two worst ones. I'm really hoping it's not. Really hoping it's not. Really, really hoping it's not. I hope we can treat this or at least manage it. Gunther had little snowflakes on his lungs today. I forgot to ask for a copy of the x-rays. They were actually kind of similar to this one. It just looks really super shadowy. There's like splooches, although his splooches were smaller. Kind of like that. It's similar to that as well, just splotchy. I'm so mad that it's not one of the two things that I thought it was. All right, let's play some games. Like, it's his heart, or it's asthma. No, you stupid bitch. It's a fungal infection. But that's why it's good to be crazy, because instead of just saying, okay, let's get him an inhaler, I said, no, let's go the extra mile and do x-rays, because I'm fucking insane. Oops, caps lock. Thankfully, we're at least knowing kind of what's going on. What is my life this year? Good God in heaven. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Life have mercy. Where's my camera thingy? Derp. Oh, no, not auto frame. That's big head shit. We don't want that. We don't want that. Do I dare leave up the side menu tonight? Wait for the really fun people that we love to have at parties come out to play. No, there is no God. There's only me looking out. Why is that beeping my battery box every single... Like, does this game just give us a surge of Jedi powers that I'm just unaware of? Goodness golly. This has been terrible with the zoo this year. Which I'm so lucky that it's been so long since we've had to say goodbye to anyone. Oh, we're good tonight. We're good tonight. Force flows through my computer. It's been a long time since I've had to say goodbye. It just sucks that it's like so much all at once. Like, I need to be able to emotionally regulate for me to be healthy on many levels. And this is not conducive for that. It's not helping. I'm gonna visually peek at him closer. Hold on. It's not open mouth breathing. Do I go to Burger King tonight and do I get him some Burger King fries. He loves Burger King fries. I have very few regrets with Voya, other than one, not taking him home from the hospital like 24 hours before, even though it would have meant suffering in a different way. But my other regret with Voya is, and I told him this, you need to get better so I can bring you Burger King. We'll get Burger King when you get home if you get better. And he didn't get better. And Gunther loves Burger King fries, so maybe I should get him some Burger King fries. Am I even going the right way? It looked like it, but then maybe not. I don't know. I have to go back to my ship, so no, there's no path for that. He does like Burger King fries more than McDonald's fries. What other fries was I sharing with him? Oh, I went to a sub shop and I was sharing my fries with him and he didn't like them. He likes the salt on them more than anything. Sometimes he just licks them instead of eating them. Burger King fries are salty as fuck. But then I'd get him chicken nuggets too, and Gunther likes chicken nuggets. Everyone likes chicken nuggets in this house. Even I do, just not the kind they like. Yeah, everyone loves chicken nuggets. Everyone loves fried chicken. I do have some Popeyes in the freezer still. But Gunther isn't, he doesn't care about fried chicken as much as he cares about nuggets and especially fries. What time is Burger King open till? He's probably only had McDonald's fries once though. I stop at BK more than I stop at McDonald's. No, leave me alone. Chewy, save me. Burger King is like Taco Bell. They're open until 2, right? I think. Oh, no, they close at like 11:30. Closes at midnight, so like 11:30 or midnight. That's fine. I'll need to be zonking out by close-ish to them, and I can run before bed. Maybe that'll help her come up. Maybe. Oh, I forgot to change my category. Oops. Whoops. Big believer that when someone is sick and in a bad way, they should be able to eat what they want. 100%. And like, love is the best medicine. Love is not going to cure or heal anything, but to be loved in your time of need is the most important thing. That's why I wish I would have taken Voya home, but I didn't know it was going to get as bad as it would have. And you can't punish yourself for not knowing and doing your best. So I don't, but I regret it. But heaven forbid anything is not what I want it to be. I want Gunther to have some Burger King fries. He ate a churro earlier. Or at Temptations, because churro makes him puke. He loves churro, but it makes him barf. Like, every time. He's thrown up like 5 times on stream because I've given him churros, and just, we don't do those anymore. Get gutted. Get gutted. I swear I'm not trying to catastrophize with Gunther, but earlier I was severely concerned. I was crying. I've been crying like all afternoon. I'm kind of cried out, so we don't have to worry about me crying more. But I was crying a lot. It's being a crybaby. Welcome, Yogi. Do it. I love cooking, but it is so, it's a labor of love, number one, for someone to cook for you. It's really nice. Don't stun me. But also, like, I've been cooking for myself, like, all of my life. It would be nice to be cooked for. It's all we can do in life is our best. And I do know him the best because I know if we went to emergency right now, he would crash out probably halfway there, and then I would fucking hate myself for it. If we're gonna crash out, we're doing it in Mom's arms. And Mom knows how to do CPR, so... Not to, like, jinx it, but, like, come at me, bro, life. Knock on wood. Spin around 3 times. Throw salt. It's impossible for me to not cry with the zoo. They're my babies. They're literally my reason for everything. Like, they rely on me and I rely on them. I got you, babe. Do, 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 do. I got you, babe. Exactly that. Where am I going to get back to my ship? I don't know. I don't know. Return to your ship. Where is my ship? Maybe that? I think that should show somewhere to get to the spaceport. I would think. My posture is terrible. I'm like it's sitting like sideways and hunched over. What are you doing, Serena? Gremlining. The Dune Sea. See? It's the Dune. See? Having fun with that. Gremlin gamer pose indeed. That was hardcore commitment. Without even meaning to be committed. I'm just hoping to fuck more than anything that I didn't make anything worse by taking him in today. Like, obviously we need to know what's wrong, but... Universe, do not let this be like Chauncey, where... Yeah, let's know more about the problem. Oh, you're fucked. Okay, I'm officially really, really lost now.
Have a safe and pleasant stay.
Maybe I have to go back to over there. Did I look at this? I need a spaceport. Quick travel? No. Oh. Do we have anything that I want to use? Probably play for like an hour. I'm gonna be up at a little bit later than I would get up for work tomorrow. I'm gonna try to be up like 5 or 5:30. So that I can monitor Gunther in the morning perfectly. And figure out exactly what we need to do. And stay on routine. Because we love that for us. I don't need that. I don't know. I think that's mildly important. For 3 hours. Do I still have a 1 hour one? Was it the bright light thing? I don't think so. Let's use it anyway. What's it gonna hurt? What's it gonna hurt? What's the true story? This is the truth. The whole truth. Nothing but the truth. For I am certain I am lost. None of this is right. Does anyone have a best guess idea? Let me look at this stupid thing one more time. What's that? Mailbox?
Pads are currently open for business.
I mean, blue is where we've explored, and it's blue over there. So maybe that would take us to the right place? Does that make sense? I don't think that's right, but I feel like it may be correct. Think there are way more quests than you need now to level up anyway? Probably. A little bit of catch-up mechanic to get new people up to the level for newer content. That is perhaps possible as well. I like Anchorhead. It's a spaceport in the movie. There's Anchorage, Alaska. I mean, we've been there before. So, based on these two assumptions of we've been there before, and that's what it is in the movie, we're going. Oh, now you change your mind. It's too late now. It's too late to apologize. It's too late. Yep, too late. We're already on the bike. Let's go. See what happens. Fuck around and find out. I mean, worst case, well, travel to Alderaan would also be find my ship, so maybe we'll just never find our ship again and just wander around everywhere. Be like Robin Hood, run around and do good deeds. I steal to the rich and give to the poor. I'm Robin Hood. I'm Robin Hood. Yeah, it's about the journey, not the destination. Except when the whole fucking point is the destination. But we're not going to talk about that part. It's potato, potato, tomato, tomato, watermelon, watermelon. The car is in the shop and your brother had offered his old out-of-commission motorcycle to you. And that's really cool, but how old and out of commission is it? Like, is it just like a clean up the carb and make sure everything's connected and then you're all good to go, or? Yeah. That's a bit concerning. I mean, that's nice of him to think of you, but spaceport. Yes. Okay. We can do it. That's not very helpful in general. I do like this game so much. I played it a handful of years ago, like briefly, and just gave up on it. But now that I'm a professional gamer, just kidding, but way better than I used to be. And I actually understand things now, kind of, sort of, until I panic about, where's my spaceship? Where's my super suit? Outside of that, I really like it now that I know how to play it. Mostly. I'm a smuggler, aren't I? Think. I don't even remember who I am, and I'm like, I'm good at this game. Oh no, we did that last time. Also offered as non-functional Honda Civic, so it's the kind of relationship you have. Why offer? Well, I mean, I guess it's like, that's truly the definition of like the thought that counts. Because that's literally all he's giving you is the idea of, but it's all unusable. Yeah, that's nice of him to think of you and to be willing to help in some way, but neither of those things help. Like it's not like you don't have a car. It's in the shop getting fixed. Why put 2 cars in the shop at one time to get fixed? Oh man. Back of his mind, I'm sure he's hoping you'll fix them up and you can sell them. Probably. Probably, honestly. Justifying it with like, oh, you would get like a couple of days of use out of it. Oh, family is funny. Sometimes I wish I had siblings. Other times I'm probably lucky I don't. Boom zoom. We found the shit. We found the shit. I'm proud of us. Bravo. Bravo. With the help of Club Cult, anything is possible. Anything you put your mind to, you can do it. Wee. Out of my way. Wee. Wee. Woo. Risha. Sup, girl?
Wasn't sure I'd see you alive again, much less with that sensor computer. How did you get it?
Oh, my wrist popped. That felt good.
Unexpectedly. That being generous inheritance. He's dead. Good. I mean, for your reputation.
Oh, that felt really good.
Sorry I didn't get a chance to chat with him before he died.
Crinkly.
My hollow
If you can tolerate your family, you're lucky. Here's some stories of families that hate each other, and it's pretty sad. It is sad, because some people just don't try their best in life, and that reflects onto others in a very serious way, and it is very sad. I'm grateful to have... I mean, my family and I aren't close, but we all get along, if that makes sense. Like, there's no bad stories that I could really tell about any of my family. I think we tolerate each other well. We're all really weird, though. It's like an awkward fest every holiday. That's the nicest option that I have.
Interesting. I'm sure he reacts like that to all the beautiful girls. With that sensor computer installed, this freighter will be a first-rate scout vessel. I'll patch it into the ship's rectangle before takeoff. You should notice a difference right away.
Good.
Expect to be warned whenever there's trouble around. The way things go for us, we'll have to reset the alarm every other parsec. Let's leave this sandball in our rear thrusters, Captain. Noctran's fortune is out there waiting for us.
Weird is fine. It keeps the holidays short. It does. For any holiday that we're together, you arrive at 4:30 or 5 and everyone is gone by 8. Like, it's literally just a dinner. You have appetizers, you chat, you eat, you have an after dinner drink and a dessert, and then you go home. I don't think there's many families that don't do like the 2 p.m. until nightfall plus celebration. I always found it weird that my family didn't, but like as an adult who is not just like a kid, like, look at my room, I redecorated, look at my doll, I got a new doll, blah 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 blah. And then I'm an adult creature. I'm grateful that it's only that time, because Lord is it awkward. Now that I'm sentient. And my family is funny. It's just there's either a joke being told or it's just awkward silent. And like someone trying to fill the void of conversation somewhere. Or there's a hilarious joke being told and we're all cackling. There is no difference in between. So my dad and his brothers are very funny. And my dad's oldest brother's wife is generally pretty funny when she's had a few too many. Generally. Sometimes she's a little bitchy, but usually she's really funny. Like, very inappropriately funny. But that was what makes it more funny. She's something else. I love her, and she's sweet, but she's something else. We have Chewy. Where's Chewy? There's Chewy. Bowdar will never register as Bowdar in my head. Bowdar is Chewy. He's been adopted and renamed. Even though you like your family, one of your favorite Christmases was just staying home. No schedule, no travel. I'm sure it feels a lot less pressuresome that way. It's truly relaxing. Like, you miss out on the social dynamic of it, but you don't have to go through all of the hectic shit to get to that point, which is really nice. I can't think of any specific things she said, but it's like, oh my god, you're saying this, like, not to your girlfriends, but to your family. But one time she was really drunk and we were out at a restaurant for dinner. And... oh wait, I didn't need to leave my ship. I needed to plot us to Alderaan. Oops! Reverse, reverse! Reverse, reverse! I forgot what I was saying. Oh, we were out to dinner, and I guess my uncle didn't... he tipped, like, just barely 20%, like, spot on the nose. And she started calling him a cheapskate, and all sorts of just snide commentary. And it's like, whoa, lady, this is a conversation for at home, and, like, your husband is paying, like, you are not. Like, not to be extremely traditional, but you really don't have a say in that unless you have a few dollars in your purse that you want to put down, too. Like... so she does get a little bitchy when she drinks too much. But she's also quite funny. She's made quite a few penis jokes. And just, she's hilarious. It was not nice how she snapped on my uncle, though. I mean, my uncle is kind of a cheapskate, but it's not like he was tipping like $5 on a $100 bill. It was just at the cusp of 20%. It was the whole family. We were doing dinner and drinks. Like, that's... you pay for the quality of the service and the service at that point. Tipping is so weird. Prefer that servers earned a proper wage and that tipping was optional. I agree with that. Or like, what are they? The service charges or whatever? Like when they automatically add 15% to your bill. I have no problem with that. I would assume that that's not what I need. Comes together. She had a decent wage, but it wasn't great. But she made bank in tips, like most of what she made was in tips. Which, not saying you should be rude to your clientele or like mentally checked out, but it shouldn't depend on being this perfect server, not just a human being all the time. There should be a flat rate for service and then tipping is a bonus, like how I function. Haircut is XYZ. Whatever you tip means that's what you have to give that you would like to give, or what you feel you would like to say that it's worth extra for. Tipping should be a pat on the back, not a compensation. Some people are difficult to deal with, even on your best day. I would agree with that. I made, speaking of such, I had 2 clients that were not unhappy with their grooms, but the dogs were shorter than what they expected, despite what they described to me. So now I talked to my boss. I'm like, can I make like a little like a consent form, sort of? So I made a little paper, which we cannot see at all, but it has the client's name, the pet's name, request for grooming, and then space for face and ears to write down, body to write down, legs and feet to write down, tail to write down, and then they sign and date it at the bottom. That way, there's nothing to complain about because I'm doing exactly what you tell me to do. Exactly. Exactly. Which I don't stress about, but my boss stresses about it because they're obsessed with having good reviews. Which makes sense. There's not really word of mouth anymore. People Google shit. But it's not the end of the world. When your quality speaks for itself, a bad review is not the end of the world. Just means there's someone snarky out there.
There's always a catch, isn't there? The planet would be a paradise. for
Don't know,
us.
small diner waitresses make it, but big restaurants, they can make some good money. Oh my god, yeah. My aunt made amazing tips, and she worked in very high-end restaurants. But still, it shouldn't all come down to tipping that way. But at the same time, like, smaller diners are usually in smaller towns where there's a lower income level. So, like, even if you're making $10 to, like, the city's $20, it compensates for what the local pricing is. Everything is more expensive where you're making more money. Everything tends to be cheaper where you're making less money. Slightly shorter hair seems like not too big of a deal. It's not too big of a deal. It's hair. It grows back. But people are just weird. And something I need to keep reminding myself of, and I'm so sorry if anyone in here owns a doodle, but a doodle is not a purebred dog. Whether it's a Bernedoodle, a Labradoodle, a Woodle, a Wheaton Doodle, what did I have? The Aradoodle, and any doodle out there. It's a mutt. It's a pretty mutt, but it's still a mutt. It's not a purebred dog. And it's a little crazy to pay that much for a mutt. And people that are, no offense if anyone owns a doodle, feel free to chime in if you do and tell me I'm wrong. I don't know. If you're paying that much money for a mutt, you're already kind of woohoo. And that means you're a little woohoo about knowing what you do or do not want. And somehow I have to understand what you mean when you're already a little woohoo. Yeah, pretty hypoallergenic mutt. Which I get, like, the hypoallergenic part is wonderful, but doodles are woohoo, and the people that buy them are woohoo. Just gotta remember that, Serena.
Local politics put me to sleep. What's our business?
Again, no offense if anyone owns a doodle, but
All you have to do is escort the antique power droid to House Organa's castle.
it's a little.
Since House Organa runs the spaceport and their castle is right around the corner, dropping off the droid should be a quick
Some of them are really good, honestly, but most of them are crazy. And it's not necessary to bring that many crazy dogs into the world, or any more dogs in the world at this point, where there's such an overpopulation crisis. I cannot stand breeders. Tell me about these people.
They like to present themselves as
New returning player. We've been playing this since Star Wars Day. So, like, a little over 2 months now. I've been really locked into this. Holy shit, that's been a while. Is that a good or a bad thing? Someday when you get a doodle in the zoo, I'll remember this conversation. I actually almost brought one home the other day. It was really sad, though. I shouldn't laugh. Yeah, doodles are crackheads. And no offense to your brother. I'm sure he's a smart human being, but I don't know. It's like seeing a hot girl. Like, logic just goes out the window when you buy a doodle. I don't know. There was an all black one that came in and it was matted, so it had to be fully shaved. And I guess the dog was in 2 months ago in like a thinner condition, but sometimes when like the poodle part takes over, they have a more slight build, kind of like how a Tigra is so much less thick than Chauncey because he's boxer build. This time when he got shaved down, this dog was emaciated. Like, not to the point of like, holy shit, let's go to the vet, you're starving in the street, but shaved down and you can see the hip bones sticking out. You can count every rib. It was not good. And there were a bunch of ticks on the dog too. It was very, very sad. So the owner got not like a talking to, but a talking to about, you know, the dog needs to eat more. You should probably make a trip to your vet and make sure that there's not any health issues going on causing this. And the 4 ticks were on the dog and yada, yada, yada. But they were late to pick the dog up by like an hour. And I really was like mentally preparing in my head to bring another dog home. Because believe it or not, people do leave their dog at the groomers. I mean, Pippi was given to me at the shop that I worked at before. Lady came in for a groom and then called back later in the day and said, hey, you know, if anyone's looking for If anyone wants her, we don't want her anymore. And I, of course, overheard and said, I'll take her. I felt so bad, though. That dog was so skinny. I wanted to bring him home and make him a steak and, like, another steak and another steak and another. I really was mentally preparing in my head. And he was so sweet. He was, like, just calm. I don't know. It was sad. I really hope it's, like, a health issue that's solvable and not, like, neglect. But he was so fluffy and so matted. Honestly, they probably didn't see underneath all of that anywhere of how skinny he was. And he was still young, so maybe they didn't adjust his food as he got a little bit older. It was just insane, though. He was so fucking thin. Like, not emaciated, again, but you could see the hip bones sticking out. You would count every rib. Like, probably about where, a little bit thinner than how Dude is right now. Which, still, very sad. It's quite terrible. I felt so fucking bad. I was ready to take the dog home. I was secretly hoping the people wouldn't show up, which is, like, terrible, but I don't care. Sometimes it's just just a couple of bad customers. You had a couple last year and it was super hard. Now you have great ones and it feels amazing. So sometimes it can just be the customer and you'll be fine. Just focus on your quality shines. Oh, you rhymed. Fine and shine. Thank you. I appreciate that. I got in my head a little bit about it over the weekend and yesterday. That was part of my crankiness yesterday. But I've come to terms with it today where it's just people don't know what they want. And I have my silly little paper that they can tell me what they want now. And if it ends up being not what they say and they wanted something else, that's too bad. It's on the paper. You've signed it. Cannot complain. And it's just hair. It grows back. I don't know. People are just wild. Post-COVID, people are just on another level. Like, I'm sure you guys have seen signs in healthcare places or just a lot of places in general, like the mechanic shop, anywhere that you go, where it's like bad language to our staff or team will not be tolerated and yada, 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 yada. Those signs are up everywhere because people are assholes now. So I'm not surprised. I'm not upset about it anymore. I know I'm good at what I do and I know I did a good job. It just wasn't how they saw it in their head as magic dog transformation Sailor Moon style. I don't know. They look good though. If anything, shorter hair means fewer visits. The savings, right? My coworker does something that I kind of love though, and I'm going to start implementing it. Even though it feels wrong in my head, I know it's a good idea. Whatever the people ask for, she goes 2 lengths longer. And that seems to be mostly a good method. She's got a couple of complaints about, like, oh, the dog is too long, blah, blah, blah. But most times it works out in her favor, and I think I'm going to do that. In terms of what I suggest to write down on my hold you accountable sheet. It really does help me a lot, though, and I think I'll like having that, because having a visual representation is very helpful to me. I'm a very visual person. Like, let's write down instructions. Thank you very much. Not sure the quarantine is entirely to blame. It's been this entitled attitude growing in the past years. I kind of agree. So let me rephrase my logic of the panini was the tipping point. Excuse me. For the bad behavior to go overboard. It was the catalyst. It is a good safety net because I can always take more hair off if they don't like it, but I can't put more hair back on. Which I know this, and I did exactly what the people asked. And we even have a chart. Let me see if we can find the one that we have on Google. So that it's like plush, so that you can actually feel what the length would be. I couldn't put hair back on. My dad has a picture like that my mom took. My dad's been balding since before I was born, so like it's not a big deal. He's comfortable with it. I'm not roasting him right now. But he still does like the sides. He just does them really short. And he collected all of his hair from his haircut, I guess, and put it back on top of his head, like collectedly. And he has a picture that my mom took of him with hair back on top of his head. What was I gonna look up? Oh. Oh, I think that's it. Here, this. We have this exact thing. Open. It's like plushy. You gonna load? Like you can see with the 4-1, like how plushy it is. But you can see the exact length. And people still choose what they don't want. Save me. You would think so, but not for everyone. But we have this exact chart. Like, fuck. People are so silly. I was in my head about it yesterday because I'm very sensitive. It's hard for me to not get into my head when it's like, oh, you didn't make people perfectly happy. But I'm over it today. I am over it. Everything is fine. It's not... It's my problem to deal with, but it's not my problem, you know? A tactile example is good. Between that and my paper and any pictures they show me, there should be no room for any frustration ever. So it's like, fuck, man, I am good at what I do. Like, I'm certainly not the best out there, but I know that I'm good and proficient. I am well trained.
I mean the droid, of course.
I'm a good dog.
Time for your juvenile jokes. We should properly introduce ourselves.
Let me shine. But it just drives me nuts because all of them that were not unhappy, but not the happiest, also tipped and didn't decide that they were somewhat not the happiest until like days later. Which I get it. You're kind of blind when you first pick up your dog because you're like, oh, my baby, my baby, my baby, my baby. But it takes you like 4 to 7 days to decide like, oh, this is shorter than I wanted. I don't know. Okay, that's as polite as I can be.
Fancy titles.
Titles are a credit a bucket from here. If you want one, I have a few I'm not using.
My brother and I are all that remains of House Tehran's.
Gunther, we're gonna get you some Burger
One
King
of
tonight.
Iran's more reprehensible.
What is your respiration
Slaughtered
rate?
our family and seized all our holdings.
It is meds o'clock. It's like timer. I just want to click on my calculator for my timer. I can't see the best from where he's laying now. It's okay, Papa. Well, don't move, because then we're going to restart. Now he's back up. He had 24 breaths in 15 seconds. Now he's back up to 88. It's not open mouth breathing though. Space Wizards just vanished. Oh, I forgot that I do disappear when we have the fake green screen up. That'll be the true test of how he's feeling tonight. Stranger danger. As if he climbs into bed with me and lets me snuggle him. I wonder if he will. He was with me when I passed out watching him earlier, but then I woke up and he was laying on the floor over here. So I don't know. I'll be right back. I gotta pee. I drank so much water earlier. So much. So much. Holy fork, now it's cold in here. It's cold. Have some goodies you can give, like in-game. I play solo. You know it's a multiplayer game, but I play solo. It's my only child complex showing. That's awesome that you've gotten so far through the game, though. It's a high compliment to the game. I don't care. I love it. You should fight back.
I'd be raising harm.
May the force be with you as well.
It's much of anything when you're having two credits.
Oh, thank you so much, Cribbity.
Story holds new hope.
Would you like
Centuries ago, our ancestors hid something.
some granola bar in return for your kindness?
Pirates have started with young affectionate-
Thank you so much. You got an awesome human up in here. I appreciate you oh so mucho. Thank you. Let me get you up on the board. On the board. Thank you oh so very much. Thank you for supporting the Stream the Dreams project, and thank you for all of your help towards Voya's care costs.
By House Baines' forces.
You are
Those
marvelous.
instructions.
Think we looked this game up and it was 2011 it came out. It's been so long. But it's so wonderful. Like, it holds up marvelously. $108 8675309. Now that's gonna be stuck in everyone's head. 8675309. Isn't that song actually called Jenny? I always thought it was called the phone number, but I think it's actually called Jenny.
Must be plenty of mercenaries willing to go steal those codes.
We've hired
Thank you,
37
thank you,
for
thank
this
you!
month. None has returned.
I appreciate your support very much.
The instructions we need are in a data pack of Tehran family history at our estate's library. If you retrieve that data pack, we'll add a substantial.
They have an estate library. They can hire their own security. I don't need to be responsible for this.
This will pay you handsomely to recover while you're there.
Oh, I am who they're hiring. Okay, I'm their bitch.
What are we looking for exactly?
There'll be the valuable looking things surrounded by guards.
Helpful.
Sylvia, it's almost time for that meeting with House Organa. Why don't you go chat with them in my place?
How shocking that you'd rather stay and entertain a female guest. Very well. I'll return as soon as I leave. I should be going too.
Perhaps later then. Do be careful out there.
Oh, was I rude? I didn't mean to be rude. Maybe I was, though. Perhaps. I actually found a picture that I took from when I played years ago of what the opening or loading screen looked like. And they've updated it a little bit, but it looks pretty similar to how it used to. It's beautiful nostalgia. Now that I can actually do things. Pro gamer over here. With my fingers behind my back. Around and around and around we go. Where will she stop? Nobody knows. Oh, he's grooming himself a little bit. I love you. Do your thing. That's good, whether he's doing that just like instinctually or like in a soothing kind of way. At least he's soothing himself or either way, it's a good-ish thing. Whether it's a negative or positive reason, it's still a good thing. He's willing to try to soothe himself instead of just suffer. Now he's licking his butthole. Good boy. Very comfy boy now. Oh man, this sucks ass. I know I do have days where I'm not freaking the fuck out, but I feel like they're just really far and few between. We just put up with so much. I'm very grateful. I just cat yap all day, every day. Yeah, this problem, and this problem, and this problem, and this problem. Where's this gonna be? Over here? What? Did I miss it? Was it up there? Or is it up over there? I feel like I got confused with this before. It was built for the anxiety life. Probably. Maybe? I think so. Let me around your ship. Let me through.
Select an available travel route.
Okay. The wealth of the exiles. The wealth of exiles. Locate the ancient datapad. Okay. I have a snack for the road. Alakasan lowlands. Read that as Alaskan and I was confused at first. It's hard to be consistently compassionate. Like, compassionate burnout does exist. But I think if the least we can do in life is just have some heart, that's a pretty good life. He readjusted himself post-bath. I want to measure breath again. Because I'm crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Disappearing act. Still not open mouth breathing, and now we're at 21 times 50, 21 times 4. 84, so slightly lower now that he's readjusted. I don't have compassionate burnout yet, anyway, but it definitely exists. Like in a lot of animal care industries and a lot of like hospitality, healthcare industries, nursing homes. Alaska is pretty this time of year, if not for the helicopter-sized mosquitoes. Good God. Alaska is gorgeous. The people I used to cat sit for went on a cruise there, and the pictures they sent me back were incredible. It was absolutely incredible. Kik is being very goofy with that lately. It's just a kick up. It says, you gotta say the word twice. It's so pretty out here. We found a Serena meadow. It's a serene meadow, but a Serena meadow. Family friends go for fishing and the photos they send are gorgeous. It is so green. Makes me want to visit, but now I'm trepidatious about the mosquitoes. And like, could I really haul the zoo to Alaska? No. I'm gonna be like the people that wait until they're retired to go travel the world again. But I'll never be retired or traveling the world because I'll always have a zoo. It's probably only gonna get worse as I get older. Get more established in life, have more space. Growing up in LA has given you a real appreciation for things that aren't brown and gray. I'm sure. The amount of peace and happiness I feel when I drive far enough out to see cornfields is just like, there is beauty in the world. And it's just a fucking cornfield, but it's not just buildings. Just buildings is easy to get sick of and burnt out by. Even if there are trees lining the streets or whatever. Stuff and things. Stuff and things. My stomach is upset tonight. I'm anxious over Gunther. Keep like half burping. Gurgling. Oh wait, that would be something different. I don't know what I'm doing. Kaboom! Kaboom! That's what I'm doing. Being the most powerful me that I can be. Get him, Chewie. Get him. Get him. I'm sitting stupid again. There you go. Good job. Ah, why do they always make the same sound? Be unique. Be your own person in life. Get him, Baudar. Get him, knock off Chewie. Jeez Louise. Gosh dang sergeants. The gosh dang. Oh, I meant to look at the calendar. See, the 1st of July is a Wednesday, but we're probably going to be really busy like the week and a half before 4th of July. But I'm going to be off. We're going to be closed on the 4th of July. So I might do first of the month Harley on 4th of July. Which is a bit inconvenient. But that's okay. Everyone's going to be preparing for the holiday and then look at their dog and go, oh fuck, you're a mess. Because that's what people do. Temu Chewy. It's hilarious. I needed that. Temu Chili. Chili. Temu Chewy. Temu Chewy. However you say it. Harley is very American. Red, white, and blue stars. This is true. If I'm able to do my hair before then, if I have time, I know exactly what I want to do. Otherwise, I have a couple ideas for alternative, but I know who I want to be. Because then I will be able to have my hair for the style. Maybe, if I get there. The only difference will be it'll be a little fresh. And I won't have as much roots as Canon Harley, but that's okay. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright. I'm excited. I appreciate this commitment to the bit. Kaboom! 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 Oh, no more booms. Only pew-pews. Christ in hell! How much trouble do we need over here? Golly gee willikers, Batman. Oh, I missed the deal on the Arkham game that we were looking at. The, what's it called? The on sale price expired, like the 11th. And I just looked at it again yesterday. Not that way. I'm so backwards with maps. I'm so much better than I used to be, but still so backwards. It's actually a good thing other people showed up. I think you were in trouble. Oh. I wasn't even watching my health bar. I just assume that I'm fine all the time. It's a peaceful existence. I'm sure at some point it will. Black Friday, if anything. Otherwise, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of, like, in-between deals. There'll be back-to-school deals, summer deals. Or maybe they'll put it up on Plus at some point. I don't know. We'll see. I still have it saved for when I want it. I'm so bummed that the older one didn't work. That looked cool. Actually, I wonder if I could launch that on my laptop, but my laptop needs so much maintenance before I can, like, functionally and not panically stream on it again. My poor laptop is so bloated. He looks powerful. Needs to be neutered. He has bolus. I would have loved to have played the demo. I would have just bought it if I would have liked the demo. But I do appreciate that. I think I'll enjoy it, but I really like to be sure before I buy games. Would have been so nice if the demo worked. Sad. Don't stun me. Don't do that. Oh my god. Are you not targeting him anymore? Come on, lady. Boop. Jeez Louise. They just joined out of my battle from like afar. Like, I appreciate it, but we're not working together here. You do your thing, I'll do mine. It's like golf. You guys tee off and then I'll go around. Computer too new for old demo. Sadly. I didn't think to try it on my laptop though. I should have. Shoulda. Coulda. Woulda. It did not even occur to me. Little surprising there isn't a demo on the PS store. Remember playing all kinds of demos in the Xbox store? There used to be a fuck ton of demos in the PlayStation store, and over the years there's less and less and less and less. Or maybe they're out there, just not for the games that I'm interested in. I don't know. I remember there being a lot of demos, though. Bowdar, are you gonna trigger them? I'm ready for it. Oh, no. Good boy. Why am I suddenly remembering his name now that I've committed not to? But I went exactly the wrong way. Oh, that would have been too easy. Would have been too easy. I think developers aren't making demos anymore. That's stupid. Fair though. I think the most recent demo we saw was one part of, or the most recent demo I've played was one part of that anthology series that was similar to Until Dawn and The Quarry. I don't remember exactly what they were all called, like The Man of Medan and all of those. Dark Pictures Anthology, thank you. How do you remember that? I am impressed. Good brain. Very good brain. But that's the only thing I've been interested in a while that there's a demo for. Which, I mean, at the end of the demo, it's like, oh, why isn't there more? But, like, that's why you buy the game. Like, why can't they just make a version of the game that's, like, the first 15 minutes for everything? What does that hurt? Does it really take that much effort? It shouldn't. Hire a different team if it's apparently that hard. But that's just me being bitchy. It's just the indie devs that make demos. Sad. I miss demos. It's a bummer. Ern used to buy a game and it would come with like 3 different demos, like on PlayStation 1. Shout out to thinking it was 7 credits every time. Are we not just in here? Oh, maybe that's where we start. Oh, I didn't select the thing. I just left. I was waiting for everyone else to tee off, and then I forgot what I was doing. Hee hee. Hee hee. Hee hee. Is that gonna be the ancient data pad, though? I wonder. I wonder. Get him, knock off Chewy. Temu Chili. Chewy! Why do I keep saying chili? Because it's cold in here. And Really? I have to fight him again? I have no thoughts in my head other than Gunther, 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 Gunther. That's what my head says right now. Gunther, 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 Gunther. No, you were chilly, probably not from Temu. know how I'd feel about that. It'd probably come from very far away. Not good. You subscribe to PC Gamer magazine. Ah! I like that one. Marvel at your peak nerdiness. No, I like that one very much. They would always send a CD with demos and sometimes a full game. That is so cool! I remember like flipping through when I would go to Barnes & Nobles with my niece and nephew, but I never subscribed to it or bought it. Okay, got it. Let me take your datapad. It's mine. 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 Pachoo, pachoo, pachoo. Oh, I'm out of powers. No more firepower from this one. There we go. Give me your credits. It was 246. 246. Would that be the datapad then? Hopefully. Still consult their publications when you're on the market for computer parts. They're a good resource though. There's not really much of a consumer reports for a lot of like in-depth tech like that. So it's nice they do that. I like consumer reports. Nope, that's not the way. That's backwards. That's backwards. Oh, you guys are there. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. There's so much tech manufacturing though, so you understand it's hard to keep track of. Oh my god, yeah. It would be impossible for them to rate and grade everything. Like, literally impossible. There's just too much shit. They would have a goddamn encyclopedia of a magazine. It's impossible and improbable to expect everything. It would be nice, but it's impossible. But it sure would be nice. The watchers and the strategists. Well, I stole your shit, so what's your strategy for that? Because I don't think it was very good. Achievement completed. The Wookiee won! Okay. I don't really know exactly what that indicates, but yay. GG's. That was an awkward little moan someone just did. I like Chewie's moan better. Oh my god, you guys don't need to be everywhere. Go home. Your mission is over. I stole your shit. Strategy for someone stealing your stuff is big crocodile tears. IRL, yes. In-game, pew-pews and boom-booms. Game is like really popping for a Tuesday evening. Quite a few people going on in here tonight. Wonder what's up with that. College kids maybe, like out of school and like home from family vacation. It is nice to see. I'm in like two different camps about it because like one, it's like get the fuck out of my way and get the fuck out of my space, but that's a me problem. It's not a their problem. But secondarily, it's nice to see the game is still enjoyed and populated and flowing. It's reassuring that they'll keep the servers up for a while. I feel like when I really like things, they go away. And I don't want that to happen with this. Yeah, it's graduation season, it's wedding season, it's vacation season. It's everything season. Everyone is busy doing stuff. Preparing for the 4th of July. Father's Day is this weekend, I think. I got my dad a card from me and a card from the zoo. I gotta mail those. Yeah, it's this Sunday. Go back to the transport area. Oh, why not just go down the straight and narrow? We're gonna run into trouble no matter what anyway. Welcome to Mad Topher. I hope the day has been kind to you. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. May the fork be with you. And also spoon you. What is this from? That made this pop into my head. Spork and Foon. Spork and Foon. What is Spork and Foon from? What is this? Spork and Foon. Is that from Blue's Clues? No. Is it? Spork and Foon. Spork and Foon. Yeah. I have it in my head as something sing-songy. From at some point. Somewhere. How about maybe Target? There you go. Sounds like the Blue's Clues melody. I think it is from Blue's Clues. I'm gonna look it up in a second. This is gonna bug me if I don't. Spork and Foon. Spork and Foon. Spork and Foon. Spork and Foon. One more thing for us all to get stuck in our heads tonight. Here, just die already. I need to Google this. I have needs. I have needs. Sprock. The alternative to Grok. It was from Arthur. Oh, you fucker. Chewie's fighting. I watched so much Arthur. My dad still watches Arthur. Spoken Foon. Spoken Foon. Pivotal childhood memories. I know, right? Oh, I think I need to not be in trouble. God damn it. Chewie, why did you have to go and do that? I'll finish it in a second. Because I remember liking the little skit that they did. I probably liked it when I was like 11, but still. Okay, Chewie, you goob. Let's be safe over here. Thank you very much. Spoken Foon. Spoken Foon. Pickled yams. That's something.
Boy, now we're stuck here in this dumb slough. It's not my fault. You're the ones that want to make breaks. Dad, no. Okay, let's see how the wicked hole. Got any ideas?
I should quit on coffee.
At least we'll get to eat. I get these 40 times a day. Look at back home. What's the matter? Corn, pig, bear, going a little more meatloaf. What do you want? I'll have fried pickles, sausage, ketchup, pickled yams, and fried baked grapes. It's him!
Full circle. I mean, kind of, yeah. They posted this in 2020. Like, this is old. This is from when I was a tiny little human. Or, I guess a slightly tinier human, because I'm still a tiny little human, but... Yeah. I read X out of that. It's okay. I can open another tab if I want it, or need to. Oh well, it's fine. It's fine. Spoken phone. Spoken phone. What? What? You? Are like both in front of us and behind us? I guess so. You fuckers. You silly goobers. I do! His name is Bowdar, but we call him Chewy. Did they just get him? Oh, they got me too. Oops. Well, I did have a pet Wookiee. Peek at Gunther really quick. He just readjusted. Oh, you have 12 seconds to get to safety. Where's safety? Okay. Whenever he readjusts, I can't tell, oops, from his last positioning of if he's open mouth breathing or not, and I keep watching for that. And to make sure. I guess we can go this way too. What was I doing with all the drama over there then? Did someone airlift me to safety? How did I do that? Damn you, Chewy. Or Chili. Yeah, tonight he's Chili. Just keeps coming out of my mouth like that. I can't stop it. We're just gonna embrace it. Hold it near and dear to our hearts. I personally find the footsteps sound like very soothing. And then I realize while I'm listening to it that I'm like too quiet and too soothed by it. So I have to mock it. Otherwise, it's just awkward silence. Where's the up and into this, my friend? I mean, I guess I can probably go all the way around it, but... I probably could have taken the other road to it. And gotten right in. Oopsies. Oopsie-days. We're just gonna go for a little swim. Look at these litter bugs over here. They're putting crates in the water. Come on now. We're better than that. Better than that. Litter bugs. I do believe this is the way in. And I went backwards as fork. Yep. Yep, 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 yep. Somewhere. Vendor. Sentinel. The travel people. Medical. He's glowing. He's a Cullen. Transport. Bloop. We get the sea turtle. We get this flying sea turtle. I'm happy.
Have a safe and pleasant stay.
We needed this in our lives. I think the fan fiction is that the lower levels of Coruscant are literal garbage levels. Oh. So a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, there was too much trash. And we learned nothing. And still fill our landfills now. History is always doomed to repeat itself. Sad. Return to Len. By the time we get back to Len, is going to be time for bed. I plan on waking up like every 2.5 hours, but I'd like to be up officially by like 5:30 so that I can stay on routine with the zoo. Where are we going for this? You do just eject trash into space. That is true. So do we, though, don't we? Well, I have to be up at 4:30, between 4 and 4:30 for work, so it's not too much of an imposition. But I've found that nights where I'm not working, or I know I'm not working until the next day, if I sleep till 6, I have a headache when I wake up. And I want to be able to monitor Gunther for a few hours so that I can decide if I do need to take him in at specifically 7:30 or if I can wait to call until 8 if his breathing stabilizes. It's by choice, not by necessity. I don't know if it's dehydration or what. But when I sleep until 6, I'm getting closer to 7 hours than 6 hours. Because I'll knock out around midnight. Or around 11. Somewhere around there. It seems like if I sleep more than 6 hours, I wake up with a headache. In a nutshell. Which, maybe that's just something for my body to get used to. Because it's so used to only sleeping in like 2.5 to like 4 hour chunks. I really think it's just something my body needs to get used to. Over 6 hours just gives me a headache. I actually surprisingly don't mind getting up that early at this point, though. I think because it's still dark outside, my brain registers it as like, oh, it's still nighttime, we're good. So it's helpful that I only have to wake up at 4 or 5 instead of like 6 or 7, because by then the sun is kind of out already. And then that's weird. Remember the good old days where you could sleep for 12 hours straight, right? I want to be able to sleep as good as I used to. My dad or my grandpa would be yelling, like literally screaming my name for me to wake up. And I'd just be like, yeah, and then droop back out. I used to be such a good sleeper. Not anymore. That's the difference between being a kid and a grown-up, though. All you have is like superficial woes for the most part on your mind as a kid. As an adult, we have much more on our minds. Tongue is wagging. Is that a wagging tongue?
Never could decipher that blasted thing.
It's a simple code. Woven through genealogical injuries. You just have to assemble the letters correctly.
Quit bickering and do it.
I can't wait to see what's inside.
It is kind of exciting. What is inside?
A huge explosion. That would be anticlimactic.
According to
Wouldn't
this,
matter what it'd be.
we
We'd be
must pry
dead.
open towards ventral servomotor houses and disable its lateral contents. The hollow
Excuse me.
is hidden within a false power storage.
Run to BK when I'm off stream. Get Gunther some nuggies and fries.
I've got it. After all these centuries, we finally have our proof. Information on this hologram proves House Turan is owed a considerable number of credits. When the other families hear of this, we will reclaim our status among the nobility.
Good for you.
Congratulations are in order.
Please, there's no need. We're just happy to be rich.
I'm sure you are.
It wants to have this data authenticated by the Royal Council. Then, see to our hero's payment.
Nothing would please me more, dear sister.
Aww. Temu Chewy is gonna go see more trees. We gotta yell if we need them. Climb all the trees you want, little buddy. Make your little Wookiee heart happy.
Well, here we are. Perfect.
Wookiees always sound so unhinged. Just tell me what it is. Yeah, I don't like surprises either.
I think you're going to
Climb all the trees!
dip in your own. House Organa's chef is the best on Alderaan. I even hired musicians to serenade you.
You get a dinner.
Dance.
I don't want to do any of those
Girls'
things.
ways.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18. We'll say 18. So his respiration is back down now. What's 18 times 4? 72. So when he's laying like, I don't even know how to describe it, in the position that he's in now, it seems like he can relax the most. He's also laying on his right side, which when you perform CPR, they're supposed to be on the right side because it helps them have like the best respiration. I don't know. So as long as he can stay comfy like that or lay in bed with me like that, I will feel so much better if he lays in bed with me tonight, but I don't know if he will. That's okay. I'm not really interested. I have other things to do.
Thanks, but I have
I'm busy.
I see.
It's really funny the guy in the Chewie suit would shout his lines at Harrison Ford while shooting in English so Han could respond with proper cadence.
It contains one of House Duran's
I didn't know that. That's a really cool fun fact.
designed for a powerful anti-radiation shield, which makes a starship
Excuse me.
all sorts of nasty cosmic rays.
That could come in handy.
I can't imagine what
Handy
you'd need
dandy.
something like that for, but I'm sure whatever it is will be quite
Handy dandy.
You have House Duran's deepest thanks.
He was British for the extra funny factor.
On Alderaan. Farewell.
Oh god, that would have been marvelous. I'd like to hear that uncut without the over it. Alright, back to ship and then bed. Burger King in bed. Smooch on, well, I can't smooch on Gigi, but why do I keep going the long way for this? Give Gigi her snack, give Tank his bedtime snack. Everyone else is just gonna have to suck it up for tonight because Gunther needs mom. And I'll do better tomorrow. And that's that. To the shippy ship. Just imagine Chewie as a Brit. But how would you speak Ewok with, or how would you speak Wookiee with a British accent? That's how it makes sense in my head. Imagine Chewie yelling at you like Dr. House, but like not the American version. To the spaceport. Tis in the disky boo. Let's get where we're going and let's check it out. Actually, I'm nosy and we're in a safe place. I'm gonna look at it now. I'm nosy. Let me scroll, you goose. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh my god, they do have...
This is how Chewbacca would sound if he spoke English.
All right, don't lose your temper. Come right back and give me a hand. We gotta make my report. What am I naming this? All right, I'll tell him.
Yes.
It's like a big, angry, deep-voiced toddler.
In a galaxy not so far away.
Oh, where the
dedicated archivists and
what the
uncovered rare, long lost.
I don't know why that opened into my chat tab.
Revealing none other than the beloved
beloved Wookiee, Chewbacca, speaking fluent English during filming.
I'm done attempting to have brain cells for
The
today.
voice you hear belongs to Peter Mayhew, who provided his dialogue on set.
Mayhew!
A reference for the actor.
Silence that blasted
However,
cough!
in post-production, his lines were replaced with Chewbacca's iconic roars and grunts. His distinctive voice to life.
You made a fair point. Screaming about to contact.
Yeah, that's not wise to upset a Wookiee.
But sir, nobody worries about upsetting a droid.
It's because a droid don't poke his arms out of their sockets when they lose. Do that.
I see.
Yeah.
This is how Chewbacca would sound if he spoke English.
All right, don't lose your temper. Come right back to your hand. We got it. Make my report.
Feels like a Monty Python impersonation of Star Wars.
Yes, that's Chewbacca speaking English in a galaxy not so far away.
It's funny. That's beautiful. 7'3", Jesus, that's tall as fuck. It's extremely tall. Holy cannoli. That was so cool to see. Thank you for finding that. Now rewatching them, I'm not going to be able to hear anything else in those parts. When are we leaving? When are we leaving? The music in here is so soothing too. I say that every time, but it really is. Imagine all of Chewie's lines as a Brit now. I like that. Adds some spice to life. Spaceport! That's not a way. That's a way. Nope, it's not up. You always think it's up, and it's not up. It's not. It was a very ass backwards walk around. And the ones you don't understand, it's just Wookiee sounds, governor. Governor. My Wookiee is getting slowly less Wookiee and much more catty. Alright, let's get to the ship. My beautiful, beautiful ship. She's gorgeous. I love her. She's so big. She's so cute. I really didn't give, what's his name? Temmie Chewie a lot of time to play in the trees, did I? Wait, is she out there? Like outside of my ship? Oh, she is. Bitch, what are you doing?
Got house Tehran schematic. Perfect. That wasn't too bad, was it?
It's probably a cat person race in Star Wars. I'm trying to remember if I remember anything similar. Like the Ewoks, sort of, but they're like teddy bears than cats. Yeah, next time you go. They ran out of money for the first movie props. Lily went to a costume shop and bought masks. That's pretty genius, though. It worked out well. The choice was justified. Oh, Baudar disapproves.
Can't wait to dish that creepy head. I swear its eyes follow me around the cargo hold.
This is one delivery I recommend keeping covered. Let's not upset the locals any more than you need to. Good luck, Captain.
Because not upsetting people is definitely my strong suit. So we don't return to the ship fully. Next time we gotta talk to Pima. Pima, a Huff. Curator of House Ald is willing to give you a new hyperdrive in exchange for the preserved head of Darth Brandon. Oh, Bandon. It still sounds just as funny as Brandon, though. Darth Bandon, an ancient Sith Lord. The hyperdrive will be invaluable in pursuing Nak Draen's treasure. Speak to Pima, a Huff. At House Ald Library in the Jurin Mountains on Alderaan. Next time on Serena TV. Boom, baby. Darth Brandon, brother of Dave. Yeah, pretty much. My brain just added an R in there. Bandon, Brandon, same difference. Bandon is just like Brandon, but a toddler is saying it. Bandon, Bandon. Kind of like that. Mr. Bean is watching you. Just put everything back to normal. I was annoyed at myself the other night when I came back to my screen and it was all how it was before. Not how I wanted it. Like coming back to everything being neat and tidy. Well, I mean, there can only be so many Darth normals. I gotta get a little creative. Oh, thank you. This is actually one of my favorite tops. One of my best good friends tie-dyed it for me. She did the whole thing nice. She did 2 matching ones for us. Like, they're not perfectly matching, but best friend shirts. Every time I wear it, I think of her. It was very cute and sweet. Oh, thank you so much, Cribbity. Thank you, thank you. We got an awesome human alert up in here. We update you on the board. Thank you for supporting the Stream the Dreams project. Thank you for helping out with voya's care costs. And know that you are a wonderful human being. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Merci beaucoup. She's amazing with tie-dye. She is so creative and so crafty and is just insanely talented. She's one of those people that like learns every detail about how to do something and practices it many times before actually executing it, whereas I don't do that. So I respect it. I admire it. Oh, thank you so much again. I appreciate it. You are wonderful. That is too kind. And thank you all, Club Cult, for a wonderful night. You're all amazing. And thank you for your time, your chats, your company, and your support. Oh, so mucho. More than anything, thank you for your time. Please do not forget your time is very valuable. And whether it's for 2 seconds, 2 minutes, 2 hours, or I'll see you again for 2 years, when our times collide, it is beautiful, magical, amazing, and wonderful. I am oh so grateful. I will take care of me if you take care of you too. But yes, we will get some sleeps and eats. I don't know if I want to get a burger at Burger King when I stop there. I might just get Gunther nuggies and then like a large fry and we'll split it. Not that he'll eat half the fry, but you know, we'll split it. Like he'll have 3 and I'll have all. Hopefully Gunther will accept the cuddles, but I will be waiting with them for him. Crossing fingers and paws. That would be ideal. I know he is very loved. I know he is very loved indeed. And thank you, the Mad Topher. We are hoping. It is a scary night, but the vet can fit us in first thing in the morning if... Boys, just hang on for like 2 more fucking minutes, Jesus. The vet can fit us in the morning if we need to. So if his respiration stays consistently like low 70s and 50s, 60s, then he should be able to just hang out at home and be monitored here. If he goes back up again, then we're going to have to go in tomorrow morning, and that's going to be horrifying. So then at that point, I will take all of the good thoughts possible, please. Thank you very much. Think about us over your morning coffee, Club Cult. If you guys want to keep up with me offline, hop into the Disky Boo. Otherwise, we got the fun stuff. If I can gosh darn type it, the socials. Some more fun stuff. The sketch that will not tell you when you can see me next because it's empty right now. Just bear with you, girl, please. But thank you all for being a part of the Stream the Dreams project. Thank you all for all of your support. Shout out to Cribbity for being a king tonight. We love to see it. And thank you for all of your support with Voya's care cost thus far. I did update his goal, and we are so close to halfway there, which is like absolutely incredible. Thank you all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Merci beaucoup. Do me one favor until I see you, Bebs, next, and that is remember that you are wonderful, amazing, kind, spectacular, oh so gorgeous, oh so wonderful, and all the good things in the world. Take all those compliments and put them in your... I'm so bummed the elastic went out on my shorts finally because they're like 1,000 years old. I've had these for forever. I'm sad. I don't know what these are called with this. I don't know how to replace them. But take those compliments, put them in your back pocket, your side pocket, your cute little hoodie pocket, your adorable little shirt pocket, floating in suspended animation, or wherever it needs to go until I see you next, you sweet bubos. Have a beautiful rest of your night. Have a marvelous, marvelous evening. Make good choices. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And on the next one, I shall see yous. Running shorts? I'll have to look that up. I remember they were popular at, like, American Apparel. That's the only place I remember them being sold. I don't know what they would be called. White outline shorts. I don't know. We'll figure it out one day. Shorts are the least of my worries right now. But why did you have to lose your elastic? It's just annoying. It just breaks down over time. It's not fair. It's not fair. Get some good sleeps tonight. Get some good eats. Cheers to you all. And thank you all immensely for especially so making the time to be here tonight. I'm very grateful to be able to exist with such wonderful human beings in many ways, a relatively chaotic timeline of life. And thank you all for being willing to jump onto the crazy train. That's what we'll call it. All aboard. And we went for a ride tonight, and it was nice. I'm very grateful. Get some good eats tonight. Thank you for being here for the stream. I appreciate you. I hope everyone has a lovely rest of their evening. I will see you all for the next one. Nighty night.